Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Lynn Robinson, editor at Tempo at the Taos News, and it is a pleasure and privilege to be with you here this afternoon to celebrate these 8 women of impact for the 2022 Taoseña Awards. I would also like to thank our sponsors, the Taos Community Foundation, UNM Taos, and all of the women that are gathered in this room today. Yesterday was the International Women's Day. We are in International Women's Month, so this is all very, very pertinent and timely. I'd like to introduce our first speaker today, Lisa O'Brien.
Good afternoon. My name is Lisa O'Brien. I'm the director of Taos Community Foundation, and it's my absolute privilege to be here again. I think this is the 4th year that Taos Community Foundation has sponsored this amazing event celebrating phenomenal women in our community. I have to tell you that when we come into this luncheon room, and I'll tell you, we had just had a beautiful luncheon at ASEC. We have our 8 women who will be recognized today with a guest that they've brought. And what's always funny is when we come up to the podium, there's always this amazing kind of like tension and nervousness. So you see kind of people going like, oh God. So I just want to tell everyone from home, we've gone through the mic check, we've gone through the light check, we've gone through the lipstick check, and we've gone through the wardrobe check. So we should be good to go for the rest of the event. I'd like to say thank you especially to Taos News for giving us these gorgeous corsages. We were all sort of commenting today on when was the last time you wore a corsage? Prom, your kid's wedding, something like that. So we're celebrating today in lots of different ways. Taos Community Foundation has been supporting women and girls through grant making for years. And several years ago, we decided it was time for us to go big. So when we launched with the Taos News for this event as a sponsor, we decided it was time for us to go big with our grant making. The last 4 years in a row, we've done a $30,000 single grant award that goes out to one organization. I'll probably be asked to leave the podium because I do not have an awardee for today, but I'll tell you we're moving forward with that grant calendar. Everyone has the opportunity to apply for our Women Give funding grant. That deadline is April 10th or 11th. Please go to our website to check that out. So everyone has plenty of time to get a grant application in for this year's $30,000 award, and then you can file your taxes a couple days later. I want to just say to all of the women who are in this room, please take deep breaths and absorb this space, because you are being recognized today for the incredible gift and value you bring to our community. The threads that I see in this room are family, friendship, children, tenacity, stewardship, volunteering, and service. You'll hear about that from all of the amazing 8 women today. The one consolation prize that we do have, because I can't come up to a podium without doing some type of grant award. So every awardee today will be receiving a $1,000 grant opportunity. You can make those gifts today. Please select the nonprofit of your choice, and Taos Community Foundation will be awarding those grants out to community in your name. Thank you for the work that you do. Thank you for what you've brought to our community, and enjoy your lunch today. I want to just introduce my next favorite person. Anita Bringus, her and I have been doing these a couple of times now, and it is a great fun. We compare our shoes, we compare what we're going to wear, and inevitably what we do is we compare what we forget. So I want to introduce Anita Bringus, who is with UNM Taos as the Strategic Support Manager, and my dear, dear friend, Anita Bringus.
Thank you, and thank you, Lisa. Lisa O'Brien and I have known each other now for several years, and over that time, we've gone from being professional colleagues, she's grown into a mentor, to a friend, and now is one of the greatest sources of strength and support. Lisa, you are a gift, you are a blessing to this community and to me. Thank you. Before I begin today's presentation, I'd like to start by recognizing the space in which we gather, which extends beyond this room and these 4 walls, to the ground on which I stand and the lands that surround us. so I share these words. The University of New Mexico Taos recognizes that we gather on the traditional homelands of the Red Willow people of the Taos Pueblo. The original peoples of current-day New Mexico, including Pueblo, Navajo, and Apache since time immemorial, have deep connections to the land and have made significant contributions to the broader community and through the state. We honor the land itself and those who remain stewards of this land throughout the generations and who also acknowledge our committed relationship to the indigenous peoples. We gratefully recognize our history and work to maintain healthy and fruitful relationships with our neighbors for generations to come. Thank you. As Lynn shared earlier, March marks Women's History Month, which at UNM we've marked with the theme of women providing healing and promoting hope. Women's History Month has been celebrating women's contributions to history, culture, and society since 1987 in the United States. And for the last 4 years, the Taos News has carried on this theme of celebrating community service, education, volunteerism, entrepreneurship, leadership, selflessness, and healing and hope with the annual Taoseña publication and Women of Impact Awards. These same values make up the very fiber of the work we do at UNM Taos, and as such, we are grateful to be here today as co-hosts with the Taos News and the Taos Community Foundation to honor and celebrate the 2022 Taoseña Award honorees and the 8 Women of Impact. I'd also like to recognize that our Chancellor of UNM Taos, Mary Gutierrez, is with us today as well. In the 7 months now that she has been with us as our chancellor, she has led with compassion, with strength and grace, modeling dedication to education. We are fortunate to have her on our campus and in our community. The women that we honor here today were nominated and selected by the 2021 Taoseña Award recipients, who include Joanne Romero, Maya Torres, Gloria Garcia Salazar, Tracy Jaramillo, Taylor Echamendi, Mary Gilroy, Tiana Suazo, and Jennifer Ortiz. This year's honorees, in turn, will select the women who will be recognized next year, and in that way, the tradition continues. We start today by honoring a woman whose work and community has improved the health, wellness, and quality of life for countless of others. Rose Bernal writes grants for the Community Against Violence and works at the Red Willow Center at the Taos Pueblo, where she works with the Community Healing Program. Rose's work to improve life for local families through the CAV is impressive, and what she considers to be her proudest accomplishment. Through that work of securing funding, Rose has increased the number of survivors of neglect, domestic violence, sexual abuse, who can now receive additional assistance to improve their safety and quality of life. It was 37 years ago that Rose moved to the Taos Pueblo to be with her husband, and it was at that time, she says, that she learned the greatest lesson from her biggest challenge, to start from scratch in a new community and to do so from a position of listening and learning, to become a member of the community in a good and honorable and respectful way. She credits her husband's grandmother and great-grandmother, who lived 100 years ago, as women who have been a great inspiration and source of strength for her. Rose accepts this award on behalf of the Bernal family of Taos Pueblo, and especially in honor of her late daughter, Red Coral Flower, who she continues to receive daily inspiration from, thanks to a mural on the wall of their home at the Taos Pueblo. Please join me in welcoming and congratulating our first Taoseña Award recipient, Rose Bernal.
So I would like to give thanks to the leadership of the Taos News and the organizers of the Taos Women Awards, and thank you to those who were involved in putting my name forward as a nominee. And thank you to all the 2022 Taos Women Awardees. I'm honored to be recognized with each of you. I wanted to add a bit of information to some of the published information that's in the Taos Woman magazine. I wanted to thank the communities of Taos and Taos Pueblo for giving me a chance to show what I could bring to the table. As grant manager at Community Against Violence, I believe CAV took a chance on me to learn and navigate the inner workings of the New Mexico state agencies and the nonprofit world. And up until that time, most of my experience was with federal funding, working for my tribe up in Canada and also with Taos Pueblo. And so this is where I kind of take a little bit of credit for my work at Red Willow. Way back in the day, around, I think it was about 2000, 2001, there was an organization that came into town called Building with Books. Sounds really strange. They say, well, are you building a building with actually using books? No, that's not true. But what they did was they were a United States non-governmental organization traveling all around the world building schools. When 9/11 hit, then of course they weren't able to travel worldwide, so they looked inward and identified Taos Pueblo as a place where an educational facility is needed. And that's where that project was born. And so today there's a 2,000 square foot building along with a number of greenhouses, a garden, which is like an alternative heating system is there. And it continues as the Red Willow Education Center. So I'm really proud of that. And I'm proud that Tiana is here also. Tiana Suazo, who is the director there. So I guess there's a little bit of truth to what it wasn't exactly all true, but I do still have my heart there with the Red Willow Center. So I believe the results of my work over at Community Against Violence over the past almost 8 years, I believe that some of the results of that are that more people, more survivors are receiving the services that they need. More survivors of domestic violence, sexual violence, abuse and neglect, other forms of violence. I see the numbers all the time, and we have increased the number of people who we're able to serve. So I don't know how you could read that. It's not, I think that these issues are getting worse. It's just that more people are coming forward and reaching out and getting the services. That's how I'm looking at the success of that. Coming from the Northwest Coast, British Columbia, Canada, where I'm originally from, I have many women to acknowledge and thank for their example as survivors of the Indian residential school era, as business owners, teachers of native language, and leaders in education, health, and tribal politics. My mother, Barbara Gabriel Stewart, Stockwasit Mott is her native name, and Helen Gabriel Carr. She was her Indian name is Kahalerston, and my sister Mary Stewart, Kayala Mott. These are important name carriers in my culture, in my community, so I lift my hands up to them. Also my daughter, Coral Dawn Bernal, Red Coral Flower, for being my late daughter. She passed away in July 2020. She was a very important activist in our community with her poetry, her art, and educational endeavors. Coral's poem, Movement, is going to be published in the upcoming New Mexico Poet Laureate Anthology, the first ever collection of unpublished poetry writing by New Mexico writers. So we're anticipating that to come out in April. And if she were here today, she'd be saying, "Go for it, Mom." And for the notion of starting from scratch, I think it's important to recognize the importance of volunteerism. When I first came to Taos, and my husband Carpio Bernal Sr. and I started a family, I found myself in a unique situation to garner value from getting involved with our children's education. I was a volunteer with the Taos Pueblo Head Start and Day School, With Head Start, my volunteerism led to not only knowledge of early education, but serving on Head Start's national panel of experts to consult on the development of Head Start training materials. So another valued experience was the Building with Books project, which I'm very proud of. And that facility continues as a viable facility today. Whether as a volunteer or in a paid position, I hope that my efforts over decades have made a difference to improve the quality of life for the community. I thank all of you for being Taoseñas and Taoseños, and for believing in the Taos community. So I accept this honor. I'm very honored to accept it. Thank you.
Thank you, Rose, for the work that you've done and that you continue to do to support the Taos Pueblo community and community at large. And especially the work that you've done with building the foundation for the Red Willow Education Training Center that we continue to work with very closely. Thank you and congratulations. Speaking of health and healing and hope, our next honoree epitomizes all of those qualities. Jeannie Ross is a community outreach director at Holy Cross Medical Center, where she directs community programming and promotes health within Taos through her efforts. She works with Paso a Paso Early Child Care Network, the Community Coalition, and several other organizations to improve quality of life for families within our town. She was a home visitor for Taos First Steps working with teen parents, then coordinator for Taos Loves Kids program to provide parenting classes and then support groups for families. She's been the director of her department and says one of her greatest sources of pride is the work that they have done for the community. She cites her amazing team of managers and coordinators who have run the programs, which include benefit navigation, career support services, Taos Alive, and the infant, maternal, and family programs, which include First Steps, Taos Loves Kids, and professional development opportunities for professionals working with young children. She's also attended the Taos Health Council for 14 years, has served on the board of New Mexico Infant Mental Health Association for several years, and is excited to now sit on the leadership team of 100% Taos Community Initiative, a very important initiative that if you are not familiar with, I encourage you to reach out to Jeannie to learn more about it. Some really wonderful work that's being done there. The initiative brings together people from many different sectors in Taos to support access to the 10 services that families and children need to survive and thrive. She says, in spite of all of her professional accomplishments, her proudest achievement is being a mother to her 2 daughters. It is her most important job to raise them to be kind, competent young women who understand the importance of making a positive contribution, as she has, to their community. She says they're amazing women, and she is so proud of them. Jeannie, in our eyes, you too are an amazing woman, and we are so, so proud of you. Please join me in welcoming and congratulating Jeannie Ross.
Thank you so much to the Taos News and Chris, to UNM Taos and Anita, and to the Community Foundation and Lisa for choosing me to honor with this award. When I moved to Taos 32 years ago, I knew that I had found my home and found my place. And the fact that you guys think that my contributions are worthy of impact, it just means the whole world to me. So thank you. I also cry quite easily. For any of you who are in Zoom meetings with me, you know this to be true. I'm trying really hard not to cry today. I want to also extend my heartfelt gratitude to Holy Cross Medical Center for having the wisdom to recognize that our community's health extends far beyond the walls of our hospital, and for the vision to support our prevention and promotion programs that Anita mentioned before. However, one of them is cancer support services, not career support services. And y'all will hear me talk a lot about cancer support services, as I always do. So I am just so grateful that the hospital has supported this. I've worked in our department for 15 years, and I'm super grateful to the managers and coordinators who chose me to be their leader. And I have to mention their names because these are truly the individuals of impact who are doing the work in our community to move the dial and improve quality of life. So thank you, Jackie Imberger, Teresa Nodell, Eileen Craig, Christina Portillo, Miles Bonney, and Monica Trujillo for being my amazing program managers and coordinators. I would not be standing here receiving this award if it weren't for your dedication and the work that you do in service. I'm so grateful for each of you. We'll celebrate together later. I would also like, I'm just so grateful to get to serve on these collaborative efforts that Anita mentioned. Paso a Paso, I've really grown in my profession with my membership in that network. And now being on the core team of the 100% Community Initiative gives me such hope for the future to see the ways that we are all coming together to support our families, not thinking about our own individual programs, but working together collectively to advance everyone's well-being. Rebecca from Paso Paso Network would always say, "A rising tide floats all boats." And I am just so honored to be a part of the efforts to rise the tide so that we can all thrive here in the community that we love so much. And finally, I have to thank my family. They are the most important thing. To Randy, my sweetheart, who puts up with the craziness of our household. To my daughters, Adelaide and Pearl, who are the next generation of Taoseñas, already making an impact in our community. They are my everything and my reason. So thank you so much.
I must have had all of our career technical programs and workforce training on the brain to have the slip of career services instead of cancer services. My apologies, but congratulations, and thank you for all of your work and being such a force to help rise that tide, rise all of our boats, and in doing so, rise our whole community. Thank you. Our next recipient shared with us earlier that she thought this must be some mistake, that the Taos News contacted her by error, that there was no way that she would ever be recognized as a woman of impact in the community. Julie Mascarenas is a teacher's aide at Taos High School, and she was chosen for her strong support that she's demonstrated over the year to all of her students. She's known to go far beyond normal expectations and to help students find things like housing and stability, not just academic assistance and supports. Julie has shown her dedication to education through the efforts she has made to help her students achieve success. Although the achievement that she is also most proud of is her family, her children, her son, and her husband. The most difficult lesson that she says she has learned is that tomorrow is not promised to anyone, and so that we must live each day as though it were our last. To always laugh and to be positive, to love yourself and your families with all of your heart. As she contemplates on these last several difficult years through the pandemic, she credits one primary source that has helped her get through it, and that is her faith and her beliefs in God. She's been able to deal with, she feels, any challenges and felt when she has felt like she has not been able to go on, feeling that extra push and guidance from above. She hopes that we can all move forward by sharing our love for one another with patience as we learn to live together and work towards a better life and with kindness for all. She feels very fortunate to share her story with the community of Taos, as do we. And let me assure you, it is by no stretch an error or a mistake. And you are indeed a 2022 Woman of Impact.
Good afternoon. I have so many to thank for this award. I begin by thanking God for giving me throughout my life and allowing me to have been chosen as one of the 8 women of impact in Taos. I want to thank the Taos News, the Taos Community Foundation, and UNM Taos for this wonderful award and the ceremony. I want to thank my mother, Nancy Mascarenas, and wish her a happy birthday. I thank Ms. Emmy Martinez de Herrera, along with our Taos High School staff who work so hard to make it possible for all our students to graduate. Emmy in particular has always been such a support to me. Finally, I'd like to thank my entire very supportive family, my dad Floyd, my mom Nancy, my children Antonio and his family, Florence and her family, Alejandro, Aaliyah, my sister Bobby Joe, and my own partner Philip. In closing, I accept this award in behalf of all educational assistants in all Taos schools. So many work long hours supporting students who often go unnoticed or who will fall through the cracks. I'm proud to be one of you. Thank you.
It comes as no surprise that she's been involved with schools as much as she is, and she has certainly shown her dedication to her children. I've had the opportunity to meet her recently with her son Alejandro at the UNM Taos campus, where she has been such a huge support for his education and ensuring his success as well. Congratulations, Julie. Our next honoree, unfortunately, was not able to be with us today, but her presence is certainly felt. Henrietta Gomez from the Taos Pueblo has made an impact working at the Red Willow Center at Taos Pueblo. She is an advocate for women and youth in Taos, and her contributions to the community are endless. Henrietta is another hardworking Taos woman who sees the best in our community through the work that she contributes to it. She is most proud of returning to her homeland and that she is involved in the traditional ways of the Taos Pueblo. And she tries to carry on that responsibility as a female within her tribe. Her mother and her maternal relatives in Acoma, as well as her dad's female relatives, have helped her learn to identify herself as an Indigenous woman, what's important to her, and how she can reflect who she is out to the greater world, as well as to show them that she is who she is and she doesn't have to compromise anymore for anyone. What she has been inspiring to her throughout the whole pandemic is the countless Indigenous women that have come out, speaking out, and seeing and being strong in their own true selves. The young women that she witnesses growing up and how they present themselves out to their community at the Taos Pueblo and into the greater world. She expresses her pride in who they are and who they are becoming. She's happiest because this is where she gets to live and where she is able to survive and thrive, where she's raising her daughters, her grandchildren, and the next generations to come. She enjoys her farming, her pottery, and traditional crafts and ceremonial clothing that she makes. She looks forward to being able to share of her home, her stories, her laughter, and her families once they're able to do so when the Taos Pueblo reopens back up. As someone who's had the honor and the pleasure of being able to visit with Henrietta in her home, I certainly look forward to those days as well. I've also witnessed her being a loving mother and grandmother, and as she has opened her home and opened her arms to me as well, as she's welcomed me into her home and to her family. Please join me in congratulating Henrietta Gomez, and we'll welcome Tiana Suazo, who will accept this award on her behalf.
Hello, everyone. My name is Tiana Suazo. I'm the executive director of Red Willow Center, and Henrietta called me this morning and asked if I could accept this award on her behalf. I'm so sad she couldn't be here today, but she's out doing the work of which I nominated her for, just upholding her family and our traditional values and our traditional way of life. So, yeah. I can't really speak for Henrietta, but I can speak on the impact she's had in our community, on my life personally. And I'm sorry, I'm a big crier too. And it's just amazing to be here surrounded by so many amazing women in our community as well. But she is, I don't even know how to describe it, but just a truly amazing woman who is so supportive of everyone in her community, especially myself. She will never say no. She's always there to help out, especially when it comes to the children in our community. She's always there to offer just an ear and some advice. She's not judgmental at all, and she's just always so warm and welcoming. And I'm so proud of her and everything that she's been doing, and I just hope that she really takes the time to understand how amazing of a person she is. She really doesn't. She doesn't. Even today, I'm like, it was a time for her to get away and, really just take in everything, but she's out helping the community like she always does. So, yeah, whenever you see her around, just congratulate her, praise her. She deserves it all. And, yeah, I just love her so very much. And just read the article about her. It just explains everything you need to know. So, thank you.
The energy of love in this room is palpable, and sometimes that love and those feelings get so our hearts just get so full that they start to leak out our eyeballs sometimes, and that's a beautiful thing. So I hope, Henrietta, that you're watching and that you know that this room is holding you and everybody here is holding you with great respect and honor and love. Our next honoree is a woman that barely needs an introduction. Although she had served as the town of Taos' first lady to her husband, Mayor, she in her own right is a number one lady. Dolly Peralta has dedicated her efforts to working in the community through the Taos Milagro Rotary Club, where she is not only a charter member, but one of the first women presidents of the Taos Milagro Rotary Club. She has served on different programs, from promoting literacy to helping people in crisis. She has also served on the Citizen Review Board and the Taos Institute for the Arts. Dolly has given back so much to this community without letting anyone ever stop her. Even personal health issues would not keep her down. She shares that Lisa O'Brien was one of the first people that she met and inspired her when she came to Taos, and they worked together for many years through the Citizens Review Board and CASA. She says she admired her knowledge and dedication to the program. She then and still now has proven herself over and over in all that she has and is still achieving. And as you share those words, Dolly, about Lisa O'Brien, many of us look to you in that same way. When asked about a piece of advice that she might share with others, she says, just take it with one day at a time. At the beginning of COVID, she shares that she was diagnosed with cancer and has been a difficult 2 years, but she says that because of her service to community had to come to a halt during that time, that the quote, taking it one day at a time, has gotten her through each day. She says we all need to believe that only what we can have and give matters, just for that one day, and then the next day, and then the next. The many years she's been in Rotary Club has shown how many wonderful people we have in our community, Dolly says. It truly is service above self. Her hope is that when the pandemic is over, that our community will be stronger in keeping up with the values that we have acquired and continue to serve in every possible way with love and kindness. She shared in an interview that she hoped that women are heard and valued as intelligent, compassionate, and equal members of our community. Dolly Peralta, you certainly have. Congratulations.
wasn't going to get weepy. But this has been a great honor, really and truly. Excuse me. First of all, I was, well, after getting married and having children, I wasn't really involved much until my husband, became mayor. And I think his example, and Lisa's, just started me with, kind of my own journey. And it has been a wonderful, wonderful journey for me. I love people. I do. I just love I love everybody, and I just want to do whatever I can to help anybody with anything. So anyway, I want to thank everybody. I want to congratulate all the honorees. I'm gratified that I'm included with all of you. I want to thank Chris and everybody from Taos News, UNM, just Lisa especially. Anyway, I've been blessed, so blessed, with a wonderful life. And so hopefully we'll just continue and be who we are and just love each other. Thank you so much.
Almost a decade ago, when I first started participating in the Rotary Club, I remember Dolly as being such not just a joy and warmth to welcome to those morning meetings, but such a source of inspiration as a woman, as a member of this community, and still so today. So thank you and congratulations. As it often happens in Taos, sometimes we see and recognize people, know them without really ever having met them. Such is the case with our next honoree. I had heard and grew to admire and respect Aurora Valdez a long time before I actually met her. Aurora is the third woman from the Taos Pueblo that's being honored this year. She was chosen for her work at the Taos Pueblo Health and Community Services with Paso a Paso, as well as a 100% community initiative. She credits her grandmother, Bertha, although she died months before Aurora was born, but she has continued to guide Aurora and all of her family values. Aurora feels like her parents, including her mother, Yvonne, that is here with her today, did the raising of the family in honor of their grandmother. She worked very hard to get her brothers and her where they are now, her parents valuing education, putting their children's education even before their own. Although Aurora shared that her mother is now back in college and kicking it. Aurora is inspired daily by the team of women she works with at the Taos Pueblo Division of Health and Community Services. She feels like there's nothing that they cannot do. They're in the business of breaking down barriers, being of support to each other's passions, and supportive of each other's as human beings beyond the work. She's proud to do what she has been able to accomplish with her home tribe. Although she spent time in school in the early part of her career preparing to come back to Taos Pueblo, she feels blessed that she's able to be there now. In addition to making positive adjustments to health and community programs with continuous quality improvement, she feels the work is deeply meaningful and feels like she can not only be herself, but inspire others to continue in her footsteps and continue on in that work. Aurora is setting an example through her leadership and involvement through Emerge New Mexico, where she advocates for women and families and is not afraid to say what needs to be said. She might even have her eye in future and politics, and we're interested to see and watch her continue to grow. When asked about her inspirations and things that have kept her going through the pandemic, Aurora talked about Beyonce's Homecoming album as a quick and easy way to believe that she is the bad beep boss who can do anything. And what I have observed, you certainly are. Lastly, the quote that she helps guide her is that courage is not something that in the absence of fear, but knowing that something else is more important than fear. And so we do it. Thank you, Aurora, for your leadership, your courage, and being the bad that you are.
Thank you. Yeah, just a little life hack there, tricking my brain. Ma'ama yahututa na'a bahwe patsin me'i. Just in case we have some of our people watching, I just wanted to greet everyone, say hello, good afternoon, and share my Indian name, which is Blue Lake Flowers Growing. And this is also something that guides me. I think it gives me permission to continuously grow and be who I am. I feel so much gratitude to be counted among the other women of impact, especially during a year where we're recognizing 2 other women from our Pueblo community, and so it's just extra special this year. My heart is racing a little bit. I'm feeling a little warm, and that's because I have so many feelings about this award. On the one hand, I feel seen and loved by all of the overwhelming support that I've received since this award was announced, and on the other hand, I feel a little bashful because I'm not this lone woman working and doing all of these things. I belong to a number of really awesome teams, teams that I'm really proud of being a part of. The first and my favorite team is Team Trujillo. Got to give a shout out to Team Trujillo. We're like a family band, but instead of instruments, we're making each other volunteer for different community projects. And so you'll see my dad operating a sound system and my mom helping to wrap hundreds of Christmas gifts. And my 11-year-old brother, I always make him set up chairs and tables, and it just never ends for him. But we're a package deal, so if you get one of us, you get all of us, little community secret there. And that's because my family has a philosophy of service to others. And we especially have each other's back when we are doing service on a larger scale. And of course, at the helm of this spirit of community service is Yvonne Trujillo, my mother and my guest here, and I just wanted to recognize not only my mom, but all of the moms who are encouraging each of us to lead with our hearts and encourage us to do work that's impactful to us. I've also got an unstoppable team at Taos Pueblo that Anita mentioned that I get the privilege of working with. And I have to give so much credit to my tribe for encouraging me and us to do this work in the greater Taos community because of that impact that it'll have with our Pueblo people. And of course, that brings me to all of the teams of community members that I get to work with, like Jeannie on 100% Community Initiative, the Taos Health Council, Paso, the Taos Main Street Board, and others. And of course, I can't forget those teams of awesome girlfriends who remind each other of how powerful we are. So it's amazing. So I just want to thank everyone in each of these teams for being in my corner and allowing me to be in theirs. Of course, I'm thankful for the team I get to be on with my amazing husband, Juan Valdez. We can all certainly do this work alone as women. We can definitely handle it. But it's nice to come home to somebody who believes in the things that I believe in and has the same vision for the community that we want to have for our family. And so he celebrates the small wins with me. He listens to my many hours of talking about why these small wins matter and why they're important in this grander scheme. And he's a grounding figure in my life and ultimate comfort when the work does get challenging, because as we know, the work does get challenging. It means a lot to be recognized by my community, from my Trujillo family in Arroyo Hondo, the Rivalis and Placitas, my loving in-laws, the Martinezes and Las Colonias, and my Pueblo side, and the community where I grew up in Ranchos, and friends sprinkled in between. There isn't a corner of the Taos community that hasn't taken care of me or supported me or fostered that growth, and so that's what makes it even more meaningful, just because I love this community so much. I love that I get to do the work that I enjoy and be exactly who I am doing it. Of course, thank you to last year's awardee, Taylor Echamendi. I don't know if anybody went digging around to see who nominated them, but I figured out that it was Taylor. She's an absolute powerhouse, so thank you so much for the nomination. And thank you to the Taos News, ASEC, and other organizers and sponsors of the Taoseña Award, and whoever thought of the really great idea of honoring the change-making women in our community. So on my final note, just like Anita mentioned, that quote, "Courage is not doing something in the absence of fear, but knowing something else is more important than fear, so we do it." Collectively, I think it's important to remember that we all want the same things. We just got through a local election where there were discussions about different methods of how to do things, but at the end of the day, we all wanted the same things. As a community, we have a lot to work through to get to achieve these things, but and it's going to be uncomfortable, but have no fear. Having a community where every single person can thrive, be happy, and be well is going to be worth the discomfort of getting through it. So all we have is us, and I know that we have the strengths locally to achieve anything. So thank you.
So Aurora talked about how sometimes the little things that we work on can eventually, over time, with intention and attention, become big things. And so what I think about when I imagine Aurora is the gentleness and strength of a drop of water, which then becomes a trickle, which then becomes a stream, which over time can carve out something as beautiful and powerful as the gorge. So keep flowing. Our next honoree has dedicated her life to supporting students to find success in higher education, increase college graduation rates, and provide support for students facing barriers to accessing post-secondary education. As the co-director at the Bridges Project for Education for the last 15 years, Jolene Montoya Dye has been helping provide free, individualized, and comprehensive college counseling for students of all ages to access vocational certifications, associate and bachelor's degrees. Before Bridges, Jolene worked at other nonprofits, and her career and service to the community is quite impressive. She's recently announced her resignation from Bridges, and we look forward to what the next steps that she has in store. One of her greatest lessons she shares is that learning in life is the difference between tenacity and holding on to something for too long. She says she can be very loyal and up for a challenge, but then learning of the downside that sometimes is continuing working through the things that may have expired or no longer serve their purpose. That sometimes it's okay to walk away from things before all the blaring signs start showing up. She's proud of living a life filled with meaningful relationships and heart-driven work. She feels lucky to be loved and to love by the best circle of people, to engage in work that is important alongside people that she respects and in a community that she deeply cares about. Jolene is fortunate to have a circle of women that hold and inspire her, starting with her own mother, Berlinda, who has been a steady source of love and support. She's also been rich in love and support from her sisters, her aunties, her friends, midwives, doctors, therapists, healers, and the like. And if there was a category for the Taos Women of Impact for families, Jolene's family would certainly get it. She shares that the very best thing that we can do for all of our children and the future humanity is to take care of the mothers. So please join me as she's with her daughter here today to celebrate a wonderful mother, community member, service provider, daughter, friend, Jolene Montoya. Congratulations.
Well, thank you so much. This is a really beautiful honor, and it's such a treat to get to be with all of you and to celebrate each of you, and to celebrate all of the people who hold us up and keep us going and fortify us in terms of our families and our friends and other community members. I have had the pleasure of getting to work with many of you over the years, and getting to raise my kids with some of you. And I think that's one of the things I love most about Taos is that you can't help but bump up against people on a daily basis and through all stages of life. And those layered, meaningful relationships really create something special and kind of call us to approach our work in a more intentional, invested way. And the result of that is this really beautiful community that I feel so proud and grateful to be from and to be part of. So thank you.
The years of work that Jolene has done in the community has made such a profound and transformative impact on so many students, and not only in their lives, but in their families and to our community as a whole. And there's an end of an era at Bridges, and I'm sure you're leaving it in good hands, but we just really want to thank you for all the work that you've done in your time there. Thank you. Our final honoree for the afternoon says she doesn't like the spotlight, which I find ironic because she has a smile so bright that lights up the room and brings joy and happiness to everyone that she's around, not unlike the beautiful and colorful flowers that she plants around the community. Merli James is a third-generation 4-H leader and has guided many youth in Taos to find meaning in principles of agriculture, sustainability, and self-sufficiency. Merli teaches teaches the youngest in the community the beauty of growing and canning one's own food, improving green spaces within our community. From rodeo to crocheting, she is passing on the wealth of knowledge accumulated from earlier generations and keeping these valuable traditions alive. She credits having a very strong mom to learn that you can overcome a lot in your life. She recognizes the women that have been willing to share those traditions, the old recipes, and pass those stories on, like the secret to making good capulin choke cherry jelly that will set, or fresh milk queso from dairy cows like her mom used to make, and that Merli continues to do today. When asked what she feels are the main issues for our community for women, she says she doesn't want to segregate or separate the challenges and the problems between women and men because it's all of ours. We all own it. She thinks one of the biggest challenges that we've had during this pandemic is the isolation and not being able to share in neighbors' stories and time together. And through that time, she learned about the fragility of life, to live with intention, with patience and compassion for those around you. And even though you don't like the spotlight, I'm going to welcome Merli James up here to the podium to accept her recognition as the Taos News Woman of Impact.
Congratulations. Well, you guys, yo soy una llorona también. I cry. I am. I want to thank the Taos News, UNM. I'm honored and I'm humbled. Dolly, Jolene, Aurora,
Henrietta, we miss you. Rose, Julie, Jeannie, congratulations. My family, George, Hargis, Harrison, Bianca, Alyssa, DeGiacomo, and Dimitri. I love you guys beyond. We working to improve our community, our country, and our world is our blessing. Thank you, guys.
I recently read this, and I apologize, I don't know who to credit it to, but it's something that rang true for me, and it might for you. I believe that the circles of women around us weave invisible nets of love that carry us when we're weak, sing with us when we are strong. Let's lean back and let the arms of women's friendships carry us and help us know ourselves better and live our lives together. I'd like to take a moment to ask our honorees to stand for a moment. Rose, Jeannie, Julie, Henrietta's not here, but if you'll take her place, be her proxy. Dolly, Aurora, Jolene, Merli. You are all here today because of the impact you have made in our community, not only for the work that you do, but for who you are. For your spirit of service, your passion and compassion, your dedication, your selflessness, and in recognition of the inherent light and willingness to share that light with those around you. So please accept this round of applause with our respect, admiration, gratitude, and love. Ladies and gentlemen, your 2022 Taos News Taoseña Award, Women of Impact. And to those of us joining us here in the room and joining us online, let's take a moment to recognize all the women in our lives. The primas, the wives, the abuelas, hermanas, the mothers, mamacitas. And as we honor all of the amazing women, I also want to recognize and thank the men in our lives, many of whom are here today celebrating, or whom were acknowledged as we heard from the honorees throughout today's celebrations. The husbands, the fathers, the sons and brothers, the tios and abuelos, the colleagues and mentors and friends. We thank you for your support and the love that you show the women in your lives. Jeannie Ross shared in her interview, as a source of inspiration, the words of Amanda Gorman, from which I'll share an excerpt. For there is always light if we're only brave enough to see it. If we're only brave enough to be it. So in closing, I invite all of us to kindle and feed the light that is within each of us and each other. Keep shining brightly. Thank you.
Let's give a big round of applause for Anita. Didn't she do a great job? Thank you, Anita. Brilliant. So I want to thank our sponsors. Without our sponsors, we couldn't have done the event. Lisa O'Brien, Taos Community Foundation, thank you once again. Every year she's there for us. And UNM Taos, thanks, Anita. And thank you, Mary. Thank you for being here. This is a wonderful event. This is something that we really take a lot of pride on. And just for everyone online that pick up the paper tomorrow, please support our street vendors that are out. I want to thank all the employees of the Taos News. Besides putting out the paper, they put out this along with a number of special sections. But this is a wonderful publication, and it couldn't be done without our advertisers and the support. So I want to thank everyone involved. Nathan, our photographer, has been running around like a gymnast and taking photos. Done a great job. These photos, all the photos you see that in the magazine, he put them on. Chris Wood, our ad director, John Miller, our editor, Lynn. I can go on with the list. I'm going to miss somebody, so I better stop. But all the 20 employees that the Taos do, and to Robin Martin, our owner, her investment in the paper is amazing, and every day she surprises me what she does for it. So thank you to everyone. We appreciate it, and we'll see you next year. Goodbye.